Hey everybody, how are you doing? I'm so excited to be here on this first week. We're gonna jump right into history, okay? We're gonna go right into it. We've got so much to cover this year that we don't have time for get to know you activities. We gotta get to work. Just kidding. I always like to put lots of fun things in there, but this week we do really need to get to work. So we're just gonna jump right into the American Revolution. Now, a lot of times I'd like to give you a little bit more background about the colonies and all these different things, but they've updated our state standards, and so we've just got to kind of hustle. So I just want to give you a little bit of background about why we have the Revolutionary War, why it's important, what was going on, what really spurred this change in America. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. The first thing is, I know I should have more writing, but just look at my pretty face, right? So first of all, you have the French and Indian War. Now, hopefully you remember a lot of this from 8th grade. The French and Indian War was a time when we really kind of came in, the colonists said, no, we want this Ohio River Valley. Let's kick the French out of here so we can get this land that we want. The French obviously teamed up with the Native Americans living here at the time, and it was this huge battle. It lasted for 7 years, and eventually we won, or the British, the colonists won, and so life kind of goes back to normal, right? We say, all right, England won, the American colonies are happy with the results and begin to live life just as normal. They're hanging out. They're like, we got what we wanted. We have more land. We got rid of those people that we weren't really big fans of, and life is good. No big deal, right? We got this. But not all is well. So if there is one thing, you guys, one thing that you really get from this class, it is that war is expensive. And we're going to talk about a lot of wars throughout this class, because that's kind of what history is made of, is different wars. And this one is no exception. This war lasted for 7 years. Well, you get done and it's like, well, who's going to pay for that? Is it going to be the colonists or the English? Or, we had to pay for lots of armies. We had to pay their soldiers. You had to pay for all their ammo. And more importantly, the war was fought in America. So all those soldiers from England had to sail across the seas to come and fight that battle. It's expensive. So who's going to pay for it? Who's going to do it? Well, England says we're not certain, we're not going to do it. King George, he says we're going to tax the colonists. It was their battle. It was fought on their soil. They are going to pay for it. Okay, get that. So he felt like he was just there to protect them. So he wants to. So his way of doing it is to tax them heavily. He doesn't really ask their opinion. He doesn't say, how's the best way? Do you guys want to pay this bill off? Or, he just says, we're going to tax them. I'm the king. I'm going to do it. So the first thing that he does is he enacts the Sugar Act. So this was a tax on anything coming into America that wasn't from Britain. So a lot of times they would get their sugar from India or for different things like that. Well, if it came from India, it actually cost more money, and that extra money would go to England. So King George was smart here, right? He thought, okay, if they're buying it from Britain, I'm getting the tax on that. If they're not buying from Britain, I'm going to get even more tax on that. So basically, I can't lose here. It was pretty smart. But the colonists were like, hey, we can get it from cheaper. We used to be able to get it cheaper from India, but now we're going to have to pay all this extra money, all these taxes, and it was financially a disaster for the colonists. Next, we have the Quartering Act. King George wasn't done yet. He's like, I'm going to keep taxing these people and keep making them a little angry. He kept poking the bear there. Anyway, so this Quartering Act, he required American colonists to provide food and shelter for English soldiers. So can you imagine, you're all tucked into your bed at night, warm and cozy, and in walk, they don't even knock on the door, they just march right in. These soldiers are like, hey, we're here to sleep tonight, do you have room for us? And they kick you out of your bed, they require you to feed them, and you have no say in it. They're like, yep, I can do this. And I can only imagine that they would abuse this system, right? And of course, the colonists were furious. These soldiers are just marching into their home, taking their food, their beds, everything. So that was a huge deal, and the colonists were very upset about it. Then comes the Stamp Act. So the other things weren't like the Sugar Act. It affected the merchants, or it affected, I don't know, it just didn't affect everyone. But here comes the Stamp Act, and this one, they tax every newspaper, playing cards, important documents, dice, etc. Everything you can kind of imagine, it had to have this official seal saying that the taxes had been paid. And this was kind of one of the last straws where the colonists were like, okay, every one of us are getting taxed on this now. I'm angry about it. We didn't have a say on it. We're not going to pay it. And so they're getting really, really upset. And then one more thing, they have the Townshend Acts. This one, so now we're already taxing every document, every newspaper. Now we're going to tax on all glass, paint, paper, and tea. Tea was kind of the final straw there. Just another tax, another one. And people are like, what? So you can kind of see two sides here, right? You've got King George, she's like, you got to pay for it. And you got the colonists who are saying, no, we're not going to pay for it, or at least do it in a better way, because this is crappy. So people are getting upset. Then you have the Tea Act. This reduced the tax on British imported tea. So it gave all British tea sellers an unfair advantage. So basically, like, you could only buy tea from Britain because they're just, anyway, the way that they taxed it, if people brought in tea from other countries, they taxed it so heavily that you couldn't make a profit. And so no other country would come to America to sell their tea. And so British imported all of their tea, all of their sellers. It just gave them such a huge unfair advantage. And America really, really got sick of it. So the bottom line is, these are the results. Americans obviously are angry. They didn't feel that they should have to pay for this, and they didn't feel they were being treated. This becomes a big slogan of no taxation without representation. So the whole thing is like, we understand that there's a bill. We understand that this has to be paid for. The bottom line is, you did not involve us in the process. So you went to, you little over there in King George in your little parliament, you said, we're going to have the British or the colonists pay for it. You're going to do all of these things. You enacted all of these acts, all of these different taxes, and you never gave us a say in it. We have no representation in Parliament. And so they were saying, we want to be fairly represented and have a say. That was their big, big slogan, is we want to have a say. So they're like, okay, we can... Anyway, so this is really what's going to lead to the revolution, is because people are angry. If they're having to spend extra money, kind of makes people upset, as you can imagine. And so this is really where we start to see all of the revolution starts to come. So soon you're going to see the Tea Party, where they go and they dump the tea. Well, that's because of the taxes. You know, they're against, what was it, the Tea Act. They were against all these different things. And slowly, as they start to revolt, they're going to say, you know what? We don't just want representation in Parliament. We want more than that. We want to have our own country. And it's a huge step from point A to point B of saying, we just want Parliament. We want to be part of the say, and then actually say, oh yeah, we want out altogether. As you can imagine, that was a scary, scary thing. But yeah, so this is kind of the road to revolution. And we're going to finish this week with a little bit more about signing the Declaration of Independence, kind of the steps and processes that went into that. And then next week we're going to jump right into the Revolutionary War. So here we go, my favorite time in history. I hope you enjoy it.